Hello everybody and welcome to Alternative Interactions. I'm Gary. Today we're going to look at something that I've been promising to do for a while, and that is my belief and understanding of the technology that the churches and cathedrals, the cathedrals that were in Tartaria, actually produced. And this is also response to a viewer's question about toiletries and the lack of them, as well as sewage and water, because I think what I'll come across and what I'll present will hopefully answer these questions and give you something to think about, because our history really has been hidden, and certain events have happened in our history to cause major effects and enable the controllers to charge us for something that should actually be free. So before we get any further, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you very much for the support I get on the channel, as well as in Telegram, where I often put additional and extra information in beyond what you see on YouTube. So without further ado, I will get on to my presentation. So this is a very brief overview, but I did do a presentation on cathedrals or cathode rails, and that I felt they were a type of electrode, or they were a energy producing system, a grid of free wireless electricity that went around the area. But they were actually far more than that, and this is something that we're going to look into today, because in that presentation I didn't show you this or explain this. Now, we have inside churches and cathedrals, we have organs. Now, the reason why an organ is called an organ is because the organs healed the organs. They produced a frequency or resonance that was in harmony with the human body and that of the environment, and would have produced sound waves or frequency that would have cured illness. Churches were not religious places of worship initially. They were, I believe, designed for free wireless electricity, and they were a form of med bed. For those not understanding what a med bed is, med beds are fundamentally something that gets touted about quite a bit, and they are something like the Raymond Rife machine, where you would go into a container, a bit like an MRI type thing, where you would receive positive frequencies that would potentially allow the body to heal itself. But we had med beds hundreds and hundreds of years pre what we understand as med beds, and they were cathedrals and churches. So an organ has multiple frequencies that it's able to produce, and we know that we can heal with frequencies. We know that we can kill parasites with frequency. So let's look at a few examples. This is beautiful, this one. I mean, look at all these pipes. Absolutely stunning and very, very high tech. This is as high tech as it gets. Works of art, in fact. Now, something that we see with the organs, and certainly the pipes, is their proximity to the windows, especially the round windows, and the importance of these shapes and the colours even. Because what we're actually seeing is that the organs would create a frequency that would be beamed through the window that would then go out into the environment, cleansing it and producing free wireless electricity and a free wireless bed frequency to ensure the good health of the people and animals around in the area. That's quite a big statement, I know, but I really do firmly believe that this was what churches and cathedrals were for back in the day. And you've got to remember, a lot of these churches or these old cathedrals were built in the 10th, 11th and 12th century. They don't even know how they built some of these cathedrals, and yet they had this kind of technology then. Are we really that advanced now? I think not. Now this is Cambridge Cathedral. Went in there for a visit, and we have the church or the cathedral organs up high, and directly opposite this here, as you go this way, is the multicoloured window. And I suspect that the shape of the roof would have created additional resonance and power to produce the wave that went through this window. And this window is here on the outside of the cathedral. And this wave of free wireless energy would have gone down. And if you actually look at the map of Cambridge, you can see there's a large avenue that would have run in those days free of anything, so that wireless energy and healing energy would have gone down through and covered the area. Here we have another example of a window with the organs, and these organs are set up in a system that looks like a fascia, and a fascia or fascia was not only a weapon but a power device, and would have greatly enhanced the power of the organ to produce extra resonance for this. You have to remember, currently churches and cathedrals have had the guts ripped out of them, and they are a shadow of what they would have been once. I've shown in previous slides and presentations the technology and the electrical technology inside cathedrals and Tartarian buildings. Everything was linked in a positive frequency system. I mean, this is just stunningly beautiful. And remember, the different coloured glasses will have different effects on the frequencies. And the groups of organs here create mini fascias or fascias, which would create additional power. But this is only really one part of the story. Beautiful, stunning. This has got 5 fascias here. Super powerful. Here we have, and I will get back onto that story in a second, here we have multiple different designs of church window, and I could almost certainly state that behind every single one of these, or in alignment of every single one of these, would be an organ. look at the design. Look at how this would have been a resonance chamber of energy, pumping out good healing vibrational frequency, collecting energy from the ether, the organs going, producing an additional energy that would have been pumped out around into the atmosphere around here. I mean, look at the size of this window here. Why would you build such things? Look, this is a resonance chamber. The energy would have been coming out of here. These things would have vibrated, physically vibrated with the energy. And we're talking good, positive, healing energy. We've shown this before, where we have the copper, the mercury, the harmonizer, the resonator, the frequency and the storage. But I want to go back to the frequency, because what's inside there? The bells. And this is the other part of the story. The frequency would have made these bells vibrate and resonate, and they would have put out a harmonic frequency. Here we go. As well as when they were rung, but they would have been continuously putting out a harmonic frequency into the atmosphere. Part of the free wireless energy, but also the healing energy. This is no different to people using Tibetan healing bowls today. This was super high tech, not needing power or energy other than that from the ether to power it. Bells were highly decorated with lots of information on them. The work that went into these. They were also blessed by the clergy, and ceremonies were put around the bells. Look at the old fish god hat he's wearing. I'm not quite sure if you look into that kind of thing, you could get quite a surprise. And here we have again the bells being decorated up, and a group photograph of children for some kind of religious or important day. But what we found during the Second World War were that all the bells were taken down and destroyed and removed. Here you can see the soldiers and the bells, smashed bells. Now the story is that these bells were removed for ammunition for World War II, for bullets. I can assure you they were not. And there has been, and I have seen photographs of hundreds and hundreds that were just buried in landfill, hidden away, because the war had other purposes regardless of what you're told, and it was used to destroy Tartarian culture, Tartarian infrastructure, and remove the healing frequencies of bells from churches and cathedrals. I think this is the Liberty Bell. Look at the crack. It's broken. This is a bell graveyard. They use railway tracks, and all the bells were stacked up, smashed. The size of this, the work that would have gone into this, the importance of this, and they've smashed it. They knew what they were doing. This was cultural genocide. Thousands, hundreds, if not thousands of bells, all removed so that people could not benefit from the frequencies, and it was a key part of the cathedrals and churches' power grid systems. Each one of these bells would have been designed to do the perfect resonation of the building in harmony. There was nothing slapdash or coincidental about the size and type of bells that were inside the belfry towers. They were part of the technology. This is a woodcut. This looks like a big bell to me here. I'm not sure if it is, but this certainly is, and it's huge. These people don't look technically able to produce and smelt and create a bell of that size, let alone one that could be this size. These systems were realm-wide, from China through to Europe through to the Americas. We also have woodcut carvings of giants holding bells to come in. Here we have twin towers of churches and another tower, and yet we have a giant. Very interesting, isn't it? This is in Mumbai. This bell was apparently made in 1810 out of bronze, and I think weighs 90 tons. Do you really think that these people, and bearing in mind that this photograph would have been taken years later, do you really believe that these people were able to smelt and build something like this? Because here I can see a lion. Why would they put a lion or a griffin signal, a sphinx almost, on, even though we know the sphinx isn't the sphinx as such, but this kind of symbology on a bell in the Far East? I mean, look how old the support is. The size of these trees, I mean, it's just mind-blowing. Can you imagine the resonance from this bell when it was rung, properly rung? This is Thailand, I believe. Again, we have twin deities. And a very small hammer or striker. I can't imagine the weight of this. It's huge. I mean, it might not be Thailand, but that looks like Thai writing to me, but it could also be elsewhere. But the Thai monks tend to wear orange and not red, but it's certainly Eastern or Asian. We have looked at the Twin Towers before, and the fact that they created an electricity flow. What they created was a toroidal field of matter and energy. Here we have another window, look. Bells, bells, window, bell tower, energy, the window. Exactly the same here. It's exactly the same makeup. These didn't only produce what we see as electricity, they produced energy frequency that was beneficial. And it was all destroyed, and all taken away from us. I've mentioned Dresden before, and one of the ladies, thank you very much for your comment, mentioned that Cliff High had spoken about that when he was a kid in Dresden, going through the rubble, that he could feel heat, strangely warm rooms that were open to the elements from the fireplaces that were left. The tech was still almost working despite being bombed and firebombed to destruction by the British, working on behalf of a certain race of people, a group of people, a mafia. Now, I've shown this picture before, but the cathedral with the bells would have created the resonance which would have gone down into the grid form, and everything would have been beneficial. These buildings are not square as such. I know they look square, but they're rounded. They would allow the energy to flow. Free wireless energy and free med beds. Free technology for healing. A balance of the universe was created by these systems. A toroidal field, a magnetic field, sparking out from a central point location. All taken away and all destroyed. Now, I do not believe that we had disease in the way we do today at that time. I am also, and this is quite a bombshell, going to say that I believe that these people were breatharians. I don't believe they ate as such. They may have had some mushrooms or they may have had some fruit, but they would not have consumed meat, and they would have not cut down and destroyed for food. There would have been a synergy, a balance, a utopia. The Shangri-La of existence would have happened within these places, and it was destroyed, corrupted, and taken from us. Our DNA looks very similar to church windows. I've shown this before. There is no coincidence about this. The church organ would have created a frequency that would have gone through the window, and if you had DNA problems, issues, unhealthiness, that, along with the coloration of that, would have gone into you. You would have stood there, potentially would have stood inside the bell in the belfry tower as that resonated, and you would have come out healed and cured after a handful of treatments. Now, this goes back to what I've been talking about the crystal spiral and the Fibonacci sequence. The importance of what I have been talking about within the double slit experiment, and how matter, atoms, frequency has an interference pattern that interferes with itself, which is identical to the crystal spiral, the creational spiral. We see this kind of pattern in the top of churches, top of cathedrals. It's a very, very similar pattern. This is creational. This is healing. Remember, the Fibonacci and the crystal spiral, the Criss code, look very similar. But they do split, and the Fibonacci will eventually collapse upon itself while the crystal spiral will continue to grow and develop. This synergy is what we used to have. We currently have the black cube, Fibonacci spiral, death, parasitical system leeching off us. This is how we were. This is how we are now. This is the importance of my putting this together. It explains how people were breatharians. They didn't need to eat or consume, or would very rarely do so, because these energy waves, which is what we're made up of, this matter, this waveform matter, would have sustained us for long periods of time in a natural harmonic balance. Now, welcome back. Now, I don't have any slides for this because there are no slides for this. Tartarian buildings, old buildings, even old terraced houses, and you will be told that the terraced houses in the United Kingdom were built in the 1890s. They didn't have plumbing, and they didn't have toilets. Outhouses were used back then, and as that power grid system was removed and slowly destroyed, our vibrational frequency and the frequency of the realm lowered and lowered and lowered to the point where we had to consume meat, flesh, and a variety of more and more plants to survive and maintain our life force. That's a real big one. This is huge. There were no toilets in these old buildings. I went round a house, a stately home, which is a National Trust house called Felbrick Hall in North Norfolk. It's near Cromer. And I think the first toilet and the plumbing for the toilet was introduced in the mid-1800s. So we have a stately home, the rich nobility, and we have no facility for waste until the mid-1800s. And yes, you'll be shown all these major kitchens, massive stuff, all the bits and pieces. These kitchens and everything else like that came later, I can assure you. Because our vibrational frequency, due to those parasites in charge destroying the grid of sustainability, the Shangri-La grid, would have been coming into effect more and more and more. The water would have come from wells, live water from wells. Water's very important. They never would have drunk the dead, toxic water we have today. Their water would have been live, nourishing, and would have acted almost like a food to them. I can assure you. Water is far more than we can understand and do understand. And perhaps I probably need to do a little chat on water and the importance of it and its abilities. Because I'm pretty sure if you look around, certainly in the United Kingdom, water towers have cell units on them, 5G towers, to irradiate the water, to toxify the water so that we can drink it. It's not by mistake. We once had utopia, an amazing realm, and that was taken away from us so the parasites could then feed upon us, our louche, and create suffering and debt slavery. And I'm sorry if that sounds terrible and it's negative, but it's a fact. The thing is though, that's now changing, and things are really changing, because as I showed in the last slide, the Fibonacci and the Criss code, that split. If you want to rewind the video, go back and look at the split as it goes off. We're in that split now. That split's happened. And those of us who vibrate on the higher frequency, who are awake and aware and open to new possibilities, will be going out on the Criss code and so an exit out of this realm. And I've covered this in a few videos now. We really are in a very good position. Despite what they have done to us and what they've tried to do to us, we really are in a very good position. Remember the Operation Looking Glass video I did. The Operation Looking Glass video I did. The dumb elites shut it down in 2012 because they couldn't change the outcome. Whatever they did, the outcome was still the same. We go back to, or we raise up to, a new higher vibrational realm of consciousness, where I suspect the Tartarian frequency energy and healing systems are working. We will be walking round and living inside a realm that is just like a med bed. And that's going to be a wonderful thing. I hope you found that interesting. I hope that gives you food for thought. I've been wanting to do this for a while, but felt that I probably needed to put some other videos out, particularly about the waveforms and the Criss code and the creational systems that we have, and how that looks like the top of cathedrals, because everything is energy, matter, frequency, the toroidal field of the realm of consciousness. So thank you very much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. This is quite a not a groundbreaking one, because other people would have said very similar things, but it certainly is one of these where you've got to probably watch it a couple of times to really understand what I'm trying to get across, and look at the other videos I've done as backup information to show just what I'm talking about. And with that, I'll say goodbye. Bye everyone. Thank you very much for watching. Blessings.